It's a political comeback for Amar Singh, but more than that, it is RLD's new entrant, Amar Singh's convenient U-turn on Narendra Modi that has turned many heads. Minutes after joining the RLD, Amar Singh claimed that Modi was like a family member. So the big question is Amar speaking for his new party or courting controversy just the way he has done in the past?
गुजरात मेरी ससुराल है, वो मुझे जमाई कहते हैं और मैं उन्हें साला कहता हूँ। तो साले बहनोई का रिश्ता तो अपनी जगह है।
Amar Singh is back and is singing a completely different tune. Ideology taking a back seat. From a Samajwadi to a Modi supporter.
नरेंद्र मोदी हमारे बड़े अच्छे मित्र, मेरे अच्छे संबंध हैं।
Once Modi's arch rival, Amar Singh is heaping praise on BJP's prime ministerial candidate. Amar Singh joined Ajit Singh's RLD today, and within hours, he told Headlines today that Modi is not an enemy for him. In fact, he is like a family member.
नरेंद्र मोदी हमारे बड़े अच्छे मित्र, मेरे अच्छे संबंध हैं और धर्मनिरपेक्ष दलों के नेता, कांग्रेस के नेताओं से मुझे बात करने में विलंब हो सकता है, लेकिन नरेंद्र मोदी तत्काल मुझसे बात करते हैं। हम नरेंद्र भाई का व्यक्तिगत विरोध नहीं करेंगे।
Flashback to the time when Amar Singh was Samajwadi Party's number 2 and Modi was his favorite punching bag. Listen in to Amar Singh's convenient U-turn.
कि हेमंत करकरे के किस रूप स्वरूप के आप प्रशंसक हैं मोदी जी, अडवाणी जी? हेमंत करकरे के ऊपर आपका आरोप है कि साध्वी प्रज्ञा के ऊपर शारीरिक अत्याचार, उन्हें असली वीडियो सीधी दिखाने वाला, हेमंत करकरे के नाम लेकर के आपने महाराष्ट्र बंद का आह्वान किया, वो बयान आपका माने या नरेंद्र मोदी जी आपका 1 करोड़ रुपए का शहादत के प्रति सम्मान वाला बयान माने?
In the same breath, Amar Singh lauding Sonia Gandhi.
कि सोनिया जी का मैं बहुत हृदय से सम्मान करता हूँ और मैंने सार्वजनिक रूप से कहा था, मैंने कांग्रेस में आवेदन नहीं किया था और न कांग्रेस में प्रवेश के लिए आवेदन किया था, न टिकट के लिए आवेदन किया था और मैंने कांग्रेस के वरिष्ठ लोगों को कहा था कि जो सोनिया जी का आदेश होगा उसका मैं प्रतिपालन करूंगा।
Amar Singh is RLD's candidate from Fatehpur Sikri, but the Samajwadi Party believes that Amar Singh's political moves won't make any difference.
नहीं, हमने तो उनको बहुत पहले पार्टी से निकाल दिया। जब पार्टी से निकाल दिया तो उसके बाद अफसोस इस बात का है और चुनाव लड़ेंगे, हम स्वागत करते हैं। वो चुनाव लड़ेंगे तो हमें चुनाव जीतना और आसान हो जाएगा।
But by praising Modi, is Amar Singh speaking for the party? In an election season where shifting loyalties have become a trend, nothing can be ruled out. Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
Political opportunism above propriety. Taint no bar for our political parties. Accused of inciting riots in Muzaffarnagar, these men are all set to get a political promotion. The Uttar Pradesh unit of the BJP has sought Lok Sabha tickets for these 4 leaders who have been accused of inciting violence that led to the Muzaffarnagar riots.
Well, the list, of course, begins with Sangeet Som. He's the MLA from Sardana. He's accused of uploading fake videos. The current status, of course, is the National Security Act has been revoked and he's out on bail. Number 2 on that list is Suresh Rana. He's the MLA from Thana Bhavan. He's accused of inciting riots in Muzaffarnagar. The NSA has been revoked on him as well and he is out on bail as well. Hukum Singh is the MLA from Kairana in Uttar Pradesh, allegedly made an inflammatory speech during the entire violence in Muzaffarnagar. He's been named in an FIR as an accused and that's where things stand as far as he's concerned. Bhartendu Singh is the sitting MLA from Bijnor. He violated prohibitory orders and made provocative speeches is what the charges are. He's been named in an FIR, but he as well is out on bail.
91 से पिछले 23 साल से उस क्षेत्र में मेहनत कर रहा हूँ, कुछ चुनाव जीता भी हूँ विधायकी के, तो निश्चित रूप से मेरे लिए सौभाग्य होगा। ये इसी वजह से फर्जी हैं कि केवल भारतीय जनता पार्टी के ही विधायकों पे क्यों आरोप लगे और अब इतनी देर में आके क्यों अन्य विधायकों पे और सांसदों पे आरोप लग रहे हैं। निश्चित रूप से ये तुष्टीकरण की नीति है सरकार की।
The party too wants everybody to believe that there is no case against the riot accused.
वो दोनों के दोनों निर्दोष हैं, उनके खिलाफ राज को लगाया गया था। स्वयं एडवाइजरी बोर्ड ने स्वीकार कर लिया कि राज का गलत है और सही बात यह है कि मुजफ्फरनगर का दंगा कराया है आजम खान ने। आजम खान उस दंगे के पीछे हैं।
The secular brigade is out crying foul over BJP's proposed move. After the felicitation comes the promotion. The BJP promised to fight these elections on the issue of development. But the proposed move surely points towards a brazen attempt to polarize voters in the riot-affected area of Muzaffarnagar. Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
On to the big newsmaker of the moment. Amar Singh is now with us. Mr. Amar Singh, thank you very much for speaking to Headlines Today. Now, within an hour of joining the RLD, you praised Narendra Modi, went against the RLD party line. Would you agree that you quoted controversy yet again?
I have not praised Narendra Modi. Who said I have praised Narendra Modi? I have simply said I don't have any personal dispute with Narendra Modi. And I have got ideological difference with Narendra Modi. And there is no gang war in politics. I have not praised Narendra Modi at all. Narendra Modi is a political adversary. We are in the fray against him. That does not mean that I have to call Narendra Modi an impotent or a chaiwala. And even Right Honorable Rahul Gandhi does not subscribe to this point of view. And he has openly reprimanded leaders of his own party who has uttered such kind of word. So to be civil for national leaders, whether from my side or from other side, is not a support rendered to them. So I want to make it categorically clear, don't create another controversy. I have never praised Narendra Modi. I have simply said that nobody is my personal enemy. And I still maintain that. I said that I have got a good relationship with Narendra Modi. And I have a good personal equation with Narendra Modi. I can't deny that. But when I was particularly asked that is it not an opportunism, then I said that had it been opportunism, I would have gone to Narendra Modi.
But that question still holds true even now.
Rajnath Singh.
No.
The very fact that I have not gone there simply shows that I am not an opportunist.
No. Mr. Amar Singh, that question will hold true even now. Many would say that this is expediency over ideology. You know, what do you have to say about your open realignment ahead of the 2014 elections?
Well, it is very difficult to say about realignment. It's a process of political churning. Somebody as illustrious as Purnaswari Devi, daughter of N.T. Rama Rao, who enjoyed fruit of power with Congress and UPA for 5 years, all of a sudden she has become BJP. I respect leaders like Digvijay Singh ji, who are consistent in their ideological pursuit. In spite of power play, they don't change their stand and they don't change their friendship. So this is how politics should be. Personal relationship and politics should be kept apart. And you should be loyal to your ideology and to the party in which you are working. And for that matter, I have never rejected Samajwadi Party. I was expelled and thrown out from there. And for 5 years I waited. And if given opportunity, I very openly admit that I would have loved to serve.
Where is the ideology, Mr. Amar Singh?
I have got great respect for Sonia ji. And even today I will say that I am not far from them, because RLD is a recognized alliance of Congress. So in a way, in Uttar Pradesh, RLD is the biggest political partner of Indian National Congress. And I have joined RLD. I have not joined any other communal outfit.
Okay, so glad you brought that up. Glad you brought that up, Mr. Amar Singh, because my next question to you is, you heard Sonia Gandhi's prospects of coming to power in 1999. You then supported the Congress in 2008 for the nuclear deal. We all know about that. Why shouldn't Amar Singh be called a politician with, great networking but no ideology? You change your stance.
Well, supporting nuclear deal was also an act of ideology, because at that point of time it was said that there is enough coal. The party said there is enough coal in the country. There is no need of nuclear deal. And for nothing, in the UP's achievement, the top on the list is nuclear deal. So if nuclear deal is tom-tommed as the top achievement of the UPA's 10-year rule led by Manmohan Singh, then historical, whether one likes or dislikes, my role in it cannot be erased.
What is your ideology?
And so there is no reason for me to be ashamed or embarrassed of my role
Amar Singh,
in facilitating Indo-US nuclear deal.
Mr. Amar Singh, what is your ideology? If you have an ideology, then spell it out. What is Mr. Amar Singh's ideology?
My ideology is secular. My ideology is that anybody who is not divisive, anybody who believes in politics of inclusive politics of this nation, anybody who adheres to the unity in diversity theory, with whom you can do business with them and you can do business for them. And the process, style of functioning may be different. Congress is more structured party. Samajwadi Party is not structured. And Ajit Singh's party is small in the size. So connectivity and cohesiveness is more in the availability of leadership is more prudently available over there.
No, Mr. Amar Singh.
So you can comment on the style, but you cannot definitely doubt their ideological base.
Now, Mr. Amar Singh, I really wonder why you use that word business. We are okay doing business. You know, the other big question that many would want to know is that, you know, the steep rise and the steep decline of the Samajwadi Party from 2012 to 2014 happened after your association with the Samajwadi Party ended. Many say it's because Mulayam Singh Yadav's close aides were perhaps, you know, badly advising him. What is your take on that?
Well, I don't want to attribute much importance to my persona. It will be very pompous on my part. It could be a coincidence that when I was in Samajwadi Party, it was thriving. It can be a sheer coincidence that after my exit, it is thwarting and it's going at its lowest step.
But you have never attacked Mulayam Singh Yadav directly. I mean, you know, just a hypothetical question. If he calls you today or tomorrow, picks up the phone, calls you tomorrow, Mr. Amar Singh, do we perhaps see a reasonable chance of you going back to the Samajwadi Party?
No, I am thankful to Mulayam Singh ji for giving me an opportunity and a space and a stage. And even 5-6 years ago, in presence of his Chief Minister's son and senior cabinet colleagues, he said there was only one man who understood me. There was only one man who was concerned about development and its process in the state. This statement is from a large-hearted person, and it's not an easy statement to give for a colleague who is expelled from the party, and that too in the full presence of entire cabinet as well as his own Chief Minister's son, while he is being openly reprimanded that you are surrounded by sycophants. I salute Mulayam Singh for this gesture. But having said that, I will also emphatically say that I got a lot from Samajwadi Party, and a lot of insult was also heaped at me in Samajwadi Party. So today my heart is bruised, and in Samajwadi Party and with Mulayam Singh my relationship was apolitical. It was absolutely emotional, and as long as that emotion is missing, that chord is not there, it is very difficult on my part to rejoin Samajwadi Party, because I will not be able to deliver my best which I used to deliver.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Amar Singh, thank you very much for speaking to Headlines Today. But this is what Headlines Today reads, what Amar Singh is saying right now. You are leaving that door ajar politically, even though you have joined the Rashtriya Lok Dal. Thank you very much for speaking to Headlines Today. Meanwhile, while relations between Karunanidhi and Alagiri have reached a break point, the younger sibling stars within the Dravidian party are on the rise. So much so that Stalin supporters, including Dayanidhi Maran and the tainted A. Raja, have in fact been fielded by the party again. The first list of Lok Sabha candidates released by the DMK has at least 3 tainted leaders. Adimuthu Raja, a former UPA minister and one of the main accused in the 2G Spectrum scam, has been fielded from Nilgiri. Another accused in the Spectrum scam, Dayanidhi Maran, has been named as the DMK candidate from central Chennai. Also, the list is going on. S. Jagat Rakshakan, an accused in the Colgate scam, the sitting MP, also has the distinction of the highest percentage rise for property among all ministers in the central cabinet.
பெண்களுக்கு மிக குறைந்த முக்கியத்துவம் கொடுக்கப்பட்டிருக்கிறது ஐயா. பெண்களுக்கு மிக குறைந்த முக்கியத்துவம் கொடுக்கப்பட்டிருக்கிறது.
All right, let's quickly dive into the debate that we are in fact carrying out today. Expediency over ideology. In fact, we saw multiple stories and all throughout the experience has been pretty much the same. Change is in the air. Political realignment 2014 is what is happening at this moment. Fuad Halim, leader of the CPM, joins us from Kolkata. C.R. Kesavan, spokesperson of the Congress from Chennai. Satyapal Jain, leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party, is also with us. Vineet Narayan is also joining us at this moment. I'll quickly come across to you, Mr. Kesavan, first. I mean, are you scared of this sort of realignment? Sitting in the Congress party, are you scared that there is open realignment happening at this moment and most of it against you?
Sangeet, you're talking about realignment of individuals or parties here?
Both, in fact. You have seen political realignment on party level and also at individual level.
Because I think this is such a smokescreen and such an exaggerated hyperbole. See, we should remember one thing. The BJP is, has a classic pattern of self-styled hype. They create the hype, they exaggerate it, and then fall a victim. There is no alignment against the Congress. You see what happened in 2004 with the BJP. They said India shining, created the hype, fell a victim. In 2009, they said Advani ji and Log Purush, and then they fell a victim. Now they're saying Narendra Modi ji and change. Let me ask you one question. The one biggest, realignment they said was Paswan ji coming. Paswan ji is just a consolation prize. You forget that everybody forgets that JDU, Mr. Nitish Kumar left such a big party. And one thing, and Mr. Paswan also, you're talking about ideology and opportunism here. 3 months back, he said BJP is the Bharat Jalao party, and he said RSS is the transmitter and BJP is the channel. So what kind of credentials are these people having? And two things.
No, then what about KCR?
I want to mention
this is one party that you have highlighted. What about KCR? About 15 days back, Digvijay Singh, the Congress General Secretary in charge, was talking about a merger. Now you have a situation where he's openly drifting towards the BJP.
No. Mr. KCR said he won't basically merge the party, but the alliance could be open. But let me come back to Yediyurappa. Mr. Sushma Swaraj has made a statement on, Mr. Sriramulu's party joining. There is internal confusion in the party. You talk about Mr. Sangeet Som and Suresh Rana. These people, why are you surprised they're being given tickets by the BJP? They were fettered in Agra just before Narendra Modi ji addressed the rally. So where is the surprise such tainted people? And more importantly, please see the case of Kameshwar Baita from who moved from to BJP. He has been accused of killing 17 PSA Jawans. It's really, shocking that a person like VK Singh says BJP is the only nationalist party when you have somebody like Kameshwar Baita joining the BJP who's been accused of killing 17 Jawans.
Mr. Satyapal Jain.
This is the story of realignment. The Congress party will run on its record and will be voted back to power.
Mr. Satyapal, that the people are in fact going to decide. But Mr. Satyapal Jain, is there something called principle and ideology in the Bharatiya Janata Party? I mean, the BJP, doesn't get tired calling itself the party with a difference. But you are okay aligning with Yediyurappa. You are okay aligning with the Bellari brothers, the Chautalas in Haryana. What is the position of the BJP?
Let me clarify first that we have not at all entered into any alliance with Shri Chautala in Haryana. And I am surprised at the arguments being given by the Congress representative. For the last few days, after the rise of Modi wave in the whole of the country, I am finding it something surprising that Congress nominees talk less of the Congress about their achievements, their working, and more about the internal working of the BJP, how the BJP is working. Number one, I'll tell them that look here, Congress has no right to talk against communalism or corruption. It is they who has been giving shelter to all those who have indulged in corruption in the country. There were serious allegations of corruption against their former railway minister, whom they now are putting from the Chandigarh seat, against their own leaders, even against allegations were leveled against the Prime Minister of India.
D.S. Yediyurappa.
So far as Mr. Yediyurappa is concerned, let us not forget that Mr. Yediyurappa has been given clean chit by the court there. There is no conviction.
This is an argument of convenience.
On the other hand,
that's exactly what I'm talking about. Expediency over ideology. Even the Congress will say the same. The left will say the same.
He is on bail. And same Mr. Paswan, to whom they are now objecting as to why he is aligning with the BJP and NDA, the Congress has been drastically trying its best to have him in their own alliance. When people are running away from the Congress, their allies also, their candidates also, now they are trying to fault with the others. Third, when people align with us, they do not come with us, then they say, no, nobody wants to go with the BJP. BJP has been isolated. And now
Mr. Jain, can you give me any logical explanation why Mr. Paswan chose to come with you?
Now they are saying, why are you taking them?
Mr. Jain.
So should we decide our strategy?
Mr. Jain.
The concurrence of the Congress.
Mr. Jain, can you give me any logical explanation why Mr. Paswan chose to join the BJP or the NDA particularly? Because, you know, if you go by his statement to the BBC, the statement that he in fact read out to the press on 29th of April 2002, he said, we have been shamed by the incidents in Gujarat. We have been mute spectators for too long. We are, coming out of this alliance from the NDA. What happened on 3rd of March 2014? In 12 years, I want to know what has the BJP done to woo Mr. Ram Vilas Paswan?
There are two options before any political party in the country now. Either to join UPA, which is basically consists of the Congress as the major political party, or join the NDA, which has the BJP as the major political party. Seeing the mood of the country, and seeing the performance of the Congress during the last 10 years, which has been totally communal, corrupt, inefficient and incompetent government, it is very reasonable for any regional party to think of joining the NDA, which can provide a stable government, which can provide a competent government, which can provide a honest government to the country.
Now, Vineet Narayan,
they totally have been disgusted, disenchanted, disappointed.
And you offer the solution, is it?
They tried their best to have an alliance with the Congress. But when they found that
there are open charges of corruption against Mr. B.S. Yediyurappa.
We have no objection to that.
Your own party leaders, senior leaders are opposed to any such move. In your Central Election Committee meeting, there are reports that come out that Sushma Swaraj is not happy with the decisions that are being taken. Do you think you are offering a solution? That's really the big question. But let me quickly get in Mr. Vineet Narayan.
In my party, all decisions are taken by the Parliamentary Board and the Central Election Committee with the consent, concurrence, and
we only have to wait 3 days, Mr. Jain.
It is our party where decisions are taken in the Parliamentary Board. It is only in Congress where Rahul or Sonia Gandhi, whatever they say, is the gospel truth for Prime Minister also and the government also. We take all the decisions in our Parliamentary Board meeting, in the Central Election Committee meeting, with the consent of all the...
See, again, this is an argument of convenience, Mr. Jain, because I know what Mr. Kesavan is now going to say, that you take your orders from Nagpur. The BJP, the Congress takes its orders from 10 Janpath. It's a very convenient argument, a table tennis match that the Congress and the BJP plays all the time on television channels. So I'm getting Mr. Vineet Narayan in right now. Mr. Narayan, do you think that all political parties ultimately aim to get in the power seat?
Rahul, we never authorize one person to take a decision.
Mr. Jain, can I say... Listen, what we are hearing is a very stereotype of argument. I mean, people are sick of listening to these arguments time and again. I think the major crisis our democracy facing today is that there are no ideological commitments. We are not a single party democracy where ideologically you are confined to one ideology. We are not a two-party democracy where you either align with Democrat or Republic or, Labour or Conservative. We are a country where people float party on, throw up a hat. You have a party against corruption, you have a party on Dalit issue. Tomorrow you'll have a party on unemployment. We may have a party on environment issue. Or forget even this. These are at least they are sounding like some issues. But there are parties where you have to surrender to the leadership, leaders' son and daughters, daughter-in-laws and son-in-laws. I mean, there is no ideology. There is no ideological frame on which conviction is tested. Here, every marriage is marriage of convenience. So whenever elections come, people run around and they seek shelter with those parties where they see possibility of winning the election. Absolutely no consideration of issues or ideology.
Okay. Mr. Fuad, you heard the whole debate, the way the Congress, the BJP, a neutral analysts have in fact been talking about. Are you a little upset, at the proposition that the left front will once again, yet again in this country, only remain a dream? You have many people who shared that dais with you at the Talkatora Stadium, at various other places, and they're slowly deserting you. AIA-DMK is now cozying up with the NDA. Paswan is no more there. Lalu, we don't know where his political alignment is going to be. He could go with the UPA. What is the left front or, plus minus the third front going to do?
Well, the left front experience has been phenomenally good. As you know, it's sustained in West Bengal, it's sustained in Tripura, it's quite strong in what you call Kerala.
What about the third front?
We would like to bring that alternative and that experience to the Indian table. But I'd like to respond to your primary question that you asked as to whether ideology or what you call winnability is the focus of political parties today. Now one has to understand that in the world over, you've got parties coming from two sides of the spectrum, the right and the left. Now the right parties that come in, whether it be the BJP or the Congress, they definitely have a strong what you call pitch for capitalism, and everything that they pitch for is oriented in that way. Hence they look at elections as a sort of a market and consumer and purchaser and commodity what you call outlook. On the other hand, you've got parties that come from the left orientation, and they actually what you call would like the elections to come up from the people. So the difference is apparent. You've got the Congress and the BJP pitching with their prime ministerial candidates, and you've got the other side of the spectrum in India, where we've got candidates coming in and the party is saying that we will let the people of India choose the prime minister. So the orientations are fundamentally different. Now if you look at the right, you see their candidates are filled with people who are film stars, they're filled with people who are singers, they're filled with people who do not have a what you call political background, but they definitely do have
I
a
understand the point
quotient.
that you're
That's
making, and a lot of people, Mr. Fuad, would say that theoretical.
Let me just
your argument, it seems at this moment, you're telling me about the right and the left. This is something that the people of this country know. What I actually want to know on behalf of the people is that,
absolutely.
you know, what is happening with the left front, the third front? AIADMK, can you say with certainty that they're with you? Will the BSP will be with you? Will the Samajwadi Party be with you?
You see, all the fronts that are evolving in India today, we are in the area of coalition politics, and all the fronts are suffering from the same problems, including the evolution of the third front. But you have to understand that the anchor of the third front is the left front, which has been strong and which has sustained itself through numerous storms. And the experience, the living experience of the left front is unparalleled by any other front in India. Now, BJP and Congress have to learn from the experience of the left front. But the core question is that when you want to be in government and pursue a particular agenda, and you do not want that agenda to be taken to the people because the people will not support that agenda, then in between you interject candidates that are absolutely not representative of your agenda in governance, but they definitely have some sort of attachment to the people, and they give you a winnability quotient. Now this is the unfortunate part of Indian democracy, where this trick is being played by the established parties on the people of India time again, starting from Amita Bachchan to Jaya Prada to Jaya Bachchan, etc., down the line to this election, where you have a magician put up by the BJP in West Bengal, and you have a series of Tollywood what you call actors.
No, but then what is wrong with that?
By the Trinamool
what is wrong with film stars choosing to be politicians, Mr. Fuad?
This exposes. Absolutely. If they come in from political stock, the left has definitely put up a number of people from the what you call who are not known to be what you call established politicians, but they have had a what you call an orientation in politics, and they have a very clear idea as what they want to execute once they come into governance. But over here you've got people who have absolutely no experience of governance, they have absolutely no political commitment, they have just been picked up for their winnability factor. Now if you choose a candidate who's winnable, and then you would like to what you call put your agenda to the people, then it's like putting the horse behind the cart. You don't want the people of India to take an educated decision, you don't want the people of India to make an informed decision. You would like them to see a star, you would like them to see a singer, you would like them to see a winnable candidate and go to their hearts rather than vote from their minds.
You know, the way I look at it, the way I look at it, Mr. Fuad, is that this is a sort of a complaint that you are trying to register in the form of what you are saying. The point that you raise about winnability, and Aditi Phadnis Mehta, political editor of the Business Standard, is in the studio with me. Welcome, Aditi. How do you look at this situation? Do you think that winnability has become the single largest ideology or the agenda of all political formations?
Well, to some extent, of course it is. It has always been and it will always be. But
particularly in 2014.
Yeah, it is a factor. But we should not forget that what Mr. Fuad is saying about film actors. I mean, till yesterday, Jayalalitha supported a CPI candidate in the Rajya Sabha, got him elected, and she was okay. I mean, let's not forget that she is a film actress, and she was okay. But the day she has withdrawn from the left front, she is a film actress and nothing more than that.
Absolutely. It's a direct charge, Mr. Fuad. Do you realize when Mr. D. Raja has to take support of AIADMK to be voted in the Rajya Sabha, it's okay with the left front. It's okay with the, the left forces. But when she is not on board, it's an argument of convenience.
No, Jayalalitha has moved far beyond being a film actress, and that is
again
not
an
my
argument of
assessment
convenience.
Of her.
Right now you were opposed to the idea of winnability.
No, not an argument of convenience. No, absolutely. I was not referring to Jayalalitha in that context.
Who are you referring to?
Far beyond her.
Isn't she a film actress? Wasn't she a film actress?
No, we are looking at
might I say you were quite derogatory to film actresses and actors?
No, if you look at the winnability quotient in West Bengal, then we've got what you call the Trinamool Congress has put up at least what you call 12 people, 20 among the 26 new faces who are absolutely not connected to politics. They are film stars, they are singers, they are football players, and these are the people that Trinamool Congress has brought on the table here. But definitely, the question of winnability is an issue for all political parties across the board, and that is why they are still not able to what you call declare the candidate lists. If you look at the BJP and the Congress, which are the leading formations, the Election Commission has already declared the election, but still the leading formations have not got their coalition partners. They have still not got their candidates in place. So this problem, what you call, is experienced by all the fronts across the board.
Okay.
As I said once again, the third front is the strongest front, the first front of the blocks. We've had a problem with Jayalalitha, but all the other partners are on board, and hopefully
is BJD on board?
And this
is the Biju Janata Dal on board?
Very strong.
Is the Samajwadi Party on board? Is the Janata Dal United on board?
Definitely.
What about Rashtriya Lok Dal?
Hello? Yeah, no, Lalu Prasad Yadav we haven't spoken to, but the other partners, as far as the 11-party formation goes, they are on board. We've had some problems with Jayalalitha. We are still in conversation with the Biju Janata Dal, and the coalition politics that has its necessary what you call issues. Those are being sorted out and ironed out.
Well, let's see how far that goes. Mr. Kesavan, would you perhaps admit over here on Newsnight that your party or your political formation is facing the toughest time politically to win friends?
Here I think any party which has incumbency, and this is a two-time incumbency, it is very natural that the way things pan out, but I don't think you should look at it that way. More importantly, coming back to ideology, I don't think we have a problem at all there, because we are very clear, this is a very clear battle. And I'll also chip in a word about the third frontier. See, there are two clear forces here who are fighting the battle, and I can include the third front on one side also. On one side you have forces and parties in the country who take the values of our founding fathers and say we need to bring unity to the country by celebrating diversity. Nobody should be left behind, and everybody should be rightfully take part in the development. On the other side, you're trying to have a party which is trying to polarize with a prime ministerial candidate saying that we want to bring unity to the country by imposing uniformity. And when I talk about parties and forces, even the third front, when they said definitely they had issues with the Congress party, I'm not saying no, but you should very clearly note when they had their meeting of 9 parties, not 11.
Mr. Kesavan, Mr. Kesavan, 6 months back I would have perhaps bought that argument, but not now. You look at what the political realignment is happening. A lot of your allies are moving towards the BJP. People find the NDA as a much better option than the UP.
One week is an eternity in politics. 1 month is lifetime in politics. Let me just say one thing. Even the third front said Mr. Modi is the very challenge to the secular edifice of our country. That's a clear message. It's a fight between secularism and non-secular forces, and there may be alliances, there may be understandings before the election and after the election too. But I think the people of India realize this, and this is the main ideological difference, and this is what the elections will be fought on.
Aditi, do you subscribe to that view? The fact that political realignment is only the name of the game, and eventually may the strong force win.
Well, I mean, the strong force will win with or without political alignment, but the fact is that frankly in Tamil Nadu itself we've seen what has happened today. The Congress is completely isolated. It has no friends whatsoever, and that's the irony of the situation, that after picking up the threads, after picking up the pieces from all the things that the DMK, all the shame, the humiliation that the DMK brought upon the Congress government, the Congress-led government, it's now the Congress which is left out in the cold, and the DMK has said we don't want to have anything to do with you. I mean, the 2G spectrum scam, the whole issue about foreign exchange violations by various groups of interest groups in the DMK, all that is something that the Congress-led government had to put up with.
Absolutely. In fact, Mr. Satyapal Jain, just getting you into this debate, I just want to read out, two situations, literally, from history, which will perhaps explain how things are actually, changing, and you're manipulating. The NDA is actually manipulating players. You have B.S. Yedurappa, who on the 10th of January 2014 said that I will never again. In fact, on 2012, he said that BJP has ill-treated me, leaders in the state and in the party's central leadership have conspired against me just because there were some allegations against me. On 10th of January 2014, his position changes and he says, I'll never again commit the mistake of leaving the party. I have rejoined the BJP to free the country from the Congress. What is this? What is exactly the BJP trying to do with its leaders? The same experience has been witnessed with Kalyan Singh also.
Please try to appreciate that, as pointed out rightly by my friend from the Congress, there are two major forces which are fighting for the 2014 Lok Sabha election. One is NDA dominated by the BJP, another is UPA dominated by the Congress. Now these are the two major forces out of which you have to choose. And today the situation has come where almost all other parties other than the BJP and our allies, they are indirectly or directly trying to have an understanding with each other to stop BJP from coming to power. And Congressite persons and leaders from Third Front are openly claiming that we are fighting election to stop Mr. Modi from becoming the Prime Minister of India. Today in Indian politics, the so-called slogan given by the Congress and the left and the so-called Third Front of secularism versus communalism, etc., is no
then,
issue.
Mr. Jain, why do you feel the need to feel riot-accused MLAs?
People want voting on development.
Who could well turn into member of parliament
at the centre. This is the reason that even those who were having some differences with us, either with the BJP or with the NDA, they are now joining NDA because they feel.
Okay, let me ask that question to Atul Kumar Anjan of the CPI. He is also with us. Mr. Atul Kumar Anjan, if you can hear me.
Anchor, excuse me, can I just step in? I was supposed to be here from 8 to 8:25. I have another show, so I just need to excuse myself here, please.
Okay, appreciate you joining us, Mr. Kesavan. But Mr. Atul Kumar Anjan, riot-accused MLAs have in fact been converted into member of parliament by the BJP. There is open talk happening at this moment. I mean, this is, how would you look at a situation like this within the BJP?
Today, the political situation has become so fragile, and you see two forces, one led by the Congress and other led by the BJP. They are trying to woo the political parties, regional parties, with all in the name of morality by doing immoral acts. What is happening in Gujarat? The Congress MLAs are forced to leave their party and they are joining the BJP. What is happening about Yedurappa? What happened? Yedurappa was taken into BJP, corruption charges against him, and Madhu Koda in jail in Jharkhand was taken into the Congress party. These are the very serious issues and very serious charges at this point of time.
And you have taken
I don't want to go into
who has been convicted by the court under the Prevention of Corruption Act.
I know, don't try to make very big sound question. You will not be able to, you see, speak like me, but listen little bit. Don't say, I don't want to make any comment on you, just listen. And I just want to say it, that today, all the political parties, if they really want to fight out the corruption, so one thing they should do, those who are corrupt people, those who are being, you see, charged, those who have been convicted by the courts, they should be kept out of the party, out of the politics. And then bringing the whole family into the politics, it's also a very novel way of the corruption. Now you are bringing the entire family, Paswan's entire family. You see, now I was told in BJP, many leaders' family, Congress is also distributing tickets. I think where we are leading towards, and I think it's a very serious type of corruption. It poses a very serious situation before the democratic setup.
And also something that cannot be wrapped up in 40 minutes, but we have completely run out of time in this particular discussion. We'll perhaps take this forward in the days to come. Thank you very much to all our panelists who in fact joined us in this particular debate.